Good evening. Yes. So here's what's happening, right? You have a high standard for yourself. You know your goals. You're a high achiever. You're ambitious. But now you're ready to grow a team. So how do you carry that high standard to your team? Whether it be freelancers, contractors, full-time employees, part-time employees, interns, whatever it may be, but the team of people who are working with you. How do you carry that high standard that you have for your business and your vision with people who didn't wake up with the same vision that you did? Right? These are people who you're following your passion for your business, but this may not necessarily be their passion or purpose. It ties to maybe some interests that they have, some learnings that they want to have, some growth perhaps. But at the end of the day, this is your business and your vision. So how do you carry that high standard to your team? Right? And you may be, as you might be familiar with the bosses of your own. Maybe you've had only one boss in your life, or you've had many. I've had several. I've had more than I can count on my hands, right? And because different project work, different team leads. And the thing is, right, you don't want to be overbearing, controlling, micromanaging, and all the other things that you hate or hated about your bosses in the office. At the same time, you do want results from your team, right? And we'll go into in terms of how I developed my leadership style. I've actually been obsessed with leadership theory. I remember the beginning of my university years, I was obsessed with leadership theory for a good 2 to 3 years. Before then, I had held leadership roles for different clubs and different things I was doing outside of school, and then continued throughout as well too. So I've been a leader since in my teenage years, and before that, I guess I always led by example. I never really knew that I was doing that, but it turns out I was. Who knew? But with that being said, when I went into entrepreneurship, definitely those leadership things definitely did help me and support me. And also just the idea of not being what my bosses were. And I wanted to set a different standard and a different culture and a better culture for my employees. And so that's what I set out to do. And I think it was a great testament that I was actually able to accomplish that when, I had to make a tough decision to fire an employee. Yet still, when describing working for me with other people, right, and she shared like a review, she shared with others, it was a pleasure working with Vanessa. She sets realistic goals and expectations, and there's a lot to learn from her, right? So having that culture of learning, etc. So we're going to go into more tonight about how to hold a high enough standard for your team and maintain it and manage it to the metrics and people that you want. All month long in August of entrepreneurship is a marathon. We're talking all things leadership. Next week, we'll be going more into culture development. Tonight, we'll be going to top 3 principles for you to maintain that high standard for your team. Yes, but first, as usual, what's been your win of the week? What has been your win of the week? My win, I've had actually lots of wins this week, and I just not realized, I was like, it's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday evening. And I've had so many wins this week, so I'm so incredibly grateful. I'll say the win that I would like to shout out is that I'll be, as of yesterday, I was confirmed to start an instructorship of an entrepreneurship class literally the class is called entrepreneurship at a university this upcoming winter. And so the syllabi is due soon, but yes, that happened yesterday, so I'm really excited for that. So what has been your win of the week? Type it in the comments. Let me put the little thing here, the banner, so you can see. Type in the comments, what has been your win of the week? It could be personal, it could be business, but what has been your win of the week that you want us to celebrate with you? Yes, and thank you. Welcome to Entrepreneurship is a Marathon, weekly live show here every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, with yours truly, Vanessa Dammy. Hey. Tonight, we're going to how to maintain a high standard for your team. For those who are new, while the rest of you are commenting on what's your win of the week, then I will be showing a lovely commercial and trailer before the show. And for those watching the replay, still put your comments in. What has been your win of the week? Let's celebrate with you. If you're watching a replay, also put hashtag replay. And you're also welcome to ask questions and get an answer as we go through. So here it is. Just a couple 30 seconds. That's it. A couple 30 seconds. If I can get it to play. We'll see what. Oh, my name is Vanessa Zammy, the best-selling author of Finish, the Solopreneur's Guide to Getting Stuff Done. I'm the creator of the Hustle and Breathe Business Accelerator, through which I consult ambitious 9-to-5ers like you on how to grow their profit-producing, purpose-driven business without the overwhelm. Your efficiency, your productivity, and profitability, so that you can reduce the overwhelm and confusion in your life. You can enjoy your life. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. And if you've chosen to step into that marathon, yes, let's go. So what has been your win of the week? And let me see if I have, sometimes StreamYard doesn't allow for the comments to come up. So we'll see. But yes, what has been your win of the week? And if you are feeling this topic, by all means, you're welcome to react and comment as we go through. For those who are also unfamiliar with who I am, Vanessa Zammy, international business consultant, speaker, and best-selling author. And my focus is really working with mid to late corporate professionals to help them grow a business, even on the side of their day job. A lot of my clients are also parents of young kids. And so they're bouncing all the hats in the world that you can imagine and really looking to grow that business, leave a lasting legacy for themselves, for their kids, but also to make an impact. I like to call my clients change makers, right? People looking to make an impact beyond themselves, right? And this is for profit and nonprofit as well, too. And so, and unfortunately, what's a dagger to my heart is when, you know, you have a corporate executive brave enough to really step into entrepreneurship, only to just end up frustrated and discouraged at how unsuccessful their business is. But they're showing up, they're doing all the things, but they're not getting the traction that they should. They're angry, right? That their purpose-driven business is failing fast, and their spouse is giving them that judgment eye. You know, they're like, oh, when's that money coming in? Because seeing a spouse struggle, seeing a friend struggle, seeing a family member struggle is not pleasing, right? And so, unfortunately, what typically happens at that point is that these passionate solopreneurs then decide to put their business on pause or focus back on their career. And thus you have a legacy deferred, right, onto the next generation to make the change. Well, what I do is I help these brave corporate solopreneurs renew their passion for their business by unpacking what's been sabotaging their success so that they can keep moving forward towards the time and financial freedom that they deserve and confidently and calmly transition into full-time entrepreneurship. And that was my journey in the past, but we're not going to get to all that here tonight. Tonight is about how to hold a high enough standard for your team, right? Part of growth in a business, part of scalability. I was speaking to a new client last week, and her goal is to help grow and scale her business, right? And so really part of that comes with outsourcing and delegating to a team and having the right team to delegate to. But now that you have, let's say you have the people, or let's say you like don't have the people yet, it's like, how do you ensure that you keep that high standard for your team? And it comes with 3 key points. Now I'm going to go into some of these 3 key points, give some examples, etc. But number 1 is have a hiring process that you trust. Have a hiring process that you trust. And what do I mean by that? Essentially, here's the thing. A lot of people, at the end of the day, the pattern that I've noticed is that the root of micromanaging and overbearing, you know, people is that there's a sort of lack of trust in the person, so to speak, right? They say they trust the person, but they're always like checking in. It's like helicopter parents, right? And so it's the thing is that there's always like this lack of trust. And the way I see it, the way the logic works, right? The way that I, you know, lead and really go through my business and with my employees and staff, and as even outside of business, I'm on nonprofit boards, et cetera, as well too. But the way that I lead is really trusting the people. And part of that trust comes with having a hiring process that I trust, that you trust for your people, right? So for me, that hiring process includes like references. I'll get references, right? And so for me, first it comes with instinct, and then 2 comes references. And so I always go with my instinct. I'm really great with, you know, just knowing people and vibes. And so a lot of it is, you know, having that interview and getting that good feeling or not that good feeling. Same thing I do with partnerships as well too, and investors and other such things. It's just the instinct. And then second is then to ensure that I'm not crazy. I always ask for references, and I just talk to other people as well too. I'm just ensure that I'm not crazy. But yes, but really it's having a hiring process that you trust. So what needs to happen? What do you need to have happen? What do you need to understand or know about the person in order for you to trust that they are capable? And I want you to put that, whether it be maybe it's information, maybe it's, you know, a case study you need them to do, or an example you need to see in real life, right? Ask for that portfolio, ask for that example. Maybe it is, you know, just understanding if they understand how to solve a particular problem if it comes up, right? Ask questions and try to get to that heart of it to really see, do they have that characteristic or trait that you want, right? So have a hiring process that you trust by really understanding what is it that you need to have happen to make that happen. Number two, prepare for deep onboarding. Prepare for deep onboarding, right? So a lot of my clients, a lot of people just in general, a lot of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, that they go to hire somebody and they just expect, you know, they hire the person and then the next second that person is like ready to go. It's just like you hire and then off they go, right? And that's not how that works. There is a hand, just like when you started at your new job or you got promoted at some new position, or you went to a new company, right? Like you've probably had some career shifts at some point. During those career shifts at the beginning, you probably had some, you know, onboarding, new things you had to learn and get adjusted to. Same thing with this new person that you're hiring onto your team. You're a new company to them. You are a new person to them. It's a new mission. it's a new purpose, right? It's a new set of products and programs and clients and customers that they need to understand. And so number two is prepare for deep onboarding, because that onboarding process is really important to set those expectations, which is number three, but we'll go to that. But prepare for deep onboarding really means when you're going into hiring someone, yes, there's the application process, there's the interview process, but there's also, as soon as they're hired, this is the same thing for freelancer, contractors, interns, full-time employees, part-time employees. I don't care who you're hiring. Whoever you're joining into your team, there is that time you need to set aside for a deep dive onboarding. For my team, when I hired like 3 salespeople, I had literally prepared in my calendar. This was actually while I had my day job as well too. I prepared in my calendar. I said 3 hours every single day. Actually, no, I said an hour, ended up being 3 hours every single day. But essentially, I set off that time every single day. It was a Monday through Friday. I remember this, and I just set off that time and had a little pretty slide and all that stuff for them to onboard them onto the team. And this included giving them company information, website, vision, mission, all these things, rules, guidelines, my history, right? And where my vision in terms of where I wanted the company to go, numbers, analytics, all the things. But the reason to do this is one, so that they could be on the same page as I was, right, for the business. And then two, to also set that realm and that sort of, atmosphere of, I trust you, right? And I'm giving you this information so you can be more successful, right? And so, and also gives the atmosphere that you are a leader that has their back, that wants that person to succeed because you are taking that time to prepare them, to onboard them so that they can be successful. You're not just throwing them into the deep end. You probably didn't like that when that was done to you. Don't do that to your employees or your team, right? Number three, which also encompasses this, is that kind of goes into onboarding as well too. But number three is just setting the expectations, right? It merits its own sort of bullet points, this own number three. Setting the expectations up front. Like whatever those expectations you have, set those up front. The way you work, the way ideally someone would come in and they'll ask you, how do you prefer to communicate? How do you do that? Right? They might do that. For me, that's what I ended up doing. As I remember, as an employee, I ended up having to remind myself to ask people those questions so that I could ensure that I was able to manage the micromanagers and manage up to the micromanagers as needed. So with that being said, but you don't want to be a micromanager or overbearing boss to your employees, not at all. And so what the key to that also is to set those expectations up front so everyone's on the same page. Because what happens a lot is in those situations, micromanaging, yes, is a root of people not trusting you, but there's also a level of miscommunication that happens too, where one person expects one thing, they get something else, it's not to their expectation, all of a sudden they think the employee did a bad job or whatever it may be, right? So it's miscommunication, which also feeds and fosters into the lack of trust. And so ensuring that you are setting those expectations up front, it could be during the interview process, which is a great place to start during the interview process. And then also at the same time, during the onboarding process, during that time when you had that concentrated time and effort to make it happen, and then continuing and living by those expectations as you go through. We'll go into more into that into cultural development, but next week's episode. But essentially ensuring that you're setting those expectations up front, everyone's clear on it. For me, for example, when I was onboarding my team, I was like, one of the clear expectations, especially the top three things, I was like, rule number one, communication. Rule number two, communication. Rule number three, don't get bored. And that was a real thing. So in terms of, and what I mean by don't get bored, I know for me as, working with somebody, when I get bored, it's just, you don't get that great of work for me. You don't get that much energy for me, like you get the work, but it's just not that energetic, right? And so for me, I'm very conscious of ensuring that my employees and my team are not bored. And if they do set an expectation up front, that if they do get bored, right, raise their hand, come talk to me, like let's chat it out. There are other opportunities here in this small business that's still growing for you, and other roles that you could take and other ideas that you can, decide to bring up and bring forth to the table. And so ensure that you're setting the expectations up front. If you're looking to, if you want your team to be innovative and share ideas, set that expectation up front during the interview process. This is what I want, right? I want someone innovative during the onboarding process. Rule number one, be innovative, right? Whatever it may be, ensuring that you are being clear and setting those expectations so that everyone is communicating the same language, right? As much as possible. And so top three things for you to hold a high enough standard for your team and manage to the metrics and people. One, have a hiring process that you trust so that you can ensure that you hire the right people and you trust the people that you hire. Do not hire someone that you don't trust. Like, there's no reason why you should be hiring someone that you don't trust. Like, there are many people looking for jobs, okay? Number two, prepare for deep onboarding. Make that time to onboard your team, to ensure they understand the company history, to ensure they understand the vision, to ensure that they understand what's happening in that brilliant mind of yours, right? And the reason why they are saying yes, chances are the reason why they apply is because they respect and honor some part of the company and what it is that you're doing, right? And assuming that you interviewed them the right way, you understand that they respect it to some level, but they still need to understand what it is to begin with, right? Well, also just what it is and what does it mean to work in the company. So prepare for that deep onboarding time, whether it be 1 day, 5 days, whatever it may be, but ensure that you break that out for yourself and make that clear to them, right? And set that time to be that leader and be there for them. Number 3, set expectations up front. Set expectations up front. Do not think that people just know what's going on in your mind. They do not know what's going on in your mind. Set expectations up front. Write it down, say it out loud, to them, write, like whatever you got to do, but set those expectations up front. Ensure that everyone's communicating clearly with each other, everyone's on the same page. And then when something happens, you can refer back and say, let me tell you what happened, right? And more, we're going to go into more in terms of cultural development as well too in next week's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern. And of entrepreneurship is a marathon. For those who like to support in that transition from solopreneur to entrepreneur, where you're going from that individual to that team delegation and knowing when to hire, if it's even time for you to hire, when to hire at the right time, how to ensure that you're an effective leader for your specific business and goals. By all means, I have a few spots open on my calendar for this week and as well as some more next week. And so I'd love for one of those spots to be yours. You're welcome to schedule time at power.vzammy.com. That's power.vzammy.com. I put the link at the bottom of the video here. There you go. And so on the screen. So power.vzammy.com. And at the end of the day, here's the thing, generational wealth, financial freedom, it takes focus and discipline, right? And it also takes you reaching out and seeking help. And so ensure that you are in that mindset that at some point you're going to have to delegate, whether it's now or it's later. But at some point, in order to really scale and grow, there will be some delegation that's needed, right? But delegate smart and ensure that you are still holding a high enough standard for your people and your team as you move through the growth of your vision, right? So schedule time, power.vzammy.com, to get unstuck in your business and really take yourself to the next level and really getting you towards your vision, whether that be to quit your day job within the next year, or if it's to ensure that you are establishing a company that you can manage while doing your other responsibilities in life. And so what we're going to do in this, it's a free 20-minute session, power.vzammy.com. What we'll do is really understand what challenges are going on, see if we're fit to work together. We may not be a fit to work together. You may not be a fit to work together, but see if we're fit to work together. And I'll either recommend you to work with me or give you some path to work with someone else that I know of as well too. I have a really wide network of other business owners as well too. And so but point is that we're going to get you to keep growing and keep moving forward on your profit producing, purpose driven business. Yes, indeed. So schedule time for the complimentary session, power.vzammy.com. Let's get you unstuck and let's get you growing and let's really get you to that path forward to keep moving forward. So chat with you next week. Every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. Wish yours truly, Vanessa Zammy. Chat soon. Bye.